Welcome to The Naked Truth. And now, your host, Bridget Barclay.
Hi there, awakened ones. This is a pre-record, so it isn't a good morning, England, and a hello evening, America. This is a pre-record with a very, very good friend of mine. So I'm going to introduce him, and then you can meet the lovely chap himself. We have Jonathan Downs. Jonathan, I met 30 years ago, have been in contact with ever since. He's a cryptozoologist. He's a naturalist, cryptozoology, author, editor, filmmaker, poet, activist, novelist, journalist, composer, songwriter, singer, background in politics and mental health care. He's the director and centre of Fortean Zoology. We met when he was, writing for so many different magazines. He's the current editor of Animals and Men. He has written over 20 books, loads of poems, loads of songs. Absolutely wonderful. Let me just go down to his books. Right. So we have here in England, we have UFOs over Devon. Got that very early on. Actually, I think Jonathan gave me that one many years ago. He works with Nick Redfern and his other good friend, which is Richard Freeman. Books is The Owl Man and the Others, The Risings of the Moon, Weird Devon, UFOs over Devon, Weird War Tales, The Black Down Mystery for ufologists, which everyone will know, The Monster of Mia, Monster Hunters. Oh my gosh, I could keep going. I mean, it's actually pages and pages long. Absolutely loads. So he's done loads of TV work, recorded loads of records. I'm just looking into all of this, appearances within the media. Listen, let's just get Jonathan in here. Jonathan is the wizard. All right, Jonathan, where are you? There is my chap. How are you, my lovely?
All the better for seeing you, my dear.
I know. Well, we've just done a pre-record for your show, which you put on YouTube every Saturday, and you always kindly send it to me on Saturday. So is there anything that I've kind of missed out from, well, there's loads of things that I've missed out actually in, bringing you on board to let everybody know who you are and what you do. So anything else you want to add to it, Jonathan?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a grandfather.
Oh,
I have a granddaughter who was 9 last week.
Oh, well, they keep you busy just as well as the cryptozoology, doesn't it? If anything, you'll get the great tales from them once they start seeing things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, you take them out in the woods and you see things.
She's an absolute honey pie.
Oh, bless your heart.
She and I play chess together, which is the sort of thing I think grandfather should do.
Oh, my dad used to play chess with me. My brothers did. Yeah, absolutely lovely. Wonderful. Take them away from their phones. Take them away from the crap that they do. Play chess, mind games. Absolutely perfect. So, Jonathan, for me and you, we go back 30 years. I think we said, didn't we? We said about 97,
96, I think.
Yeah.
So 28 years.
Okay, 28 years.
Now. So, yeah, it'll be 28 years. October, November.
Yeah, because I was living in Exeter, you were living in Exeter at the time, and you were working for, you were writing for many of the magazines at the time, and you were heavily into the cryptozoology. You'd authored by then anyway, hadn't you?
Yeah, I'd written 4 books by then.
Yeah, and then I remember going to many of your meetings. You used to have the meetings at the pub, the local pub on the water down at the quayside, which is always magical. And that's where I met Nick Redfern for the first time. So obviously Richard, who you write with as well, Richard Freeman. He's heavily active, isn't he, on Facebook with all the cryptozoology?
Oh, massively.
Yeah. So, right. You used to live in Hong Kong. You've traveled all around the world. You are who you are because of who you are. Tell me how you got into all of this. Is it a family thing? Where did you come into all of this?
Well, usually because I usually ask people the same question. It's a great way of finding,
Everything out.
Who
Yeah.
they are and why.
Yeah.
And most of them are fairly vague about it.
Okay.
I can tell you exactly why
Thank you.
and how. It
Thank
was
you.
March 1968. We lived in Hong Kong, where my father was a senior member of the Hong Kong government at the time. Because remember, Hong Kong, up until 1997, was British.
Okay.
It was a British colony, and my father was, I think, third in line to the governor. He was quite a big wig.
Mhm.
And every Thursday, my mother would go into town. She'd go and play tennis with her friends, have coffee, and then go to the library. And she'd bring back thrillers for my dad to read, picture books for my little brother, and books about animals for me. And one day she brought back a book called Myth or Monster. And if any of you have a copy, please let me know, because I've not been able to find it anywhere.
I'll find you one, Jonathan.
Amazon, can't find it on Heavy Books or any of the second-hand book places.
Is it a paperback? Little paperback one?
It was hardback, this one.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This was many years ago. And it was basically a cut-down kids' version of On the Track of Unknown Animals by...
Oh, yeah, the Ladybird books and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not quite as cut down as that, but it was a easier to read version of that, because On the Track of Unknown Animals is this thick and has a lot of long words in it.
Okay.
But I read this book and it blew me away. It was one of the 3 great epiphanies in my life. The other 2 being when I heard that electric guitars sounded really, really good. I heard the Sex Pistols for the first time, and when I discovered that girls are different to boys. And those are my 3 great...
3 amazing things, yeah, right.
Yeah. That's the 3 things that kept me going all the way through my life. Forget sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's sex, cryptozoology, and rock and roll. And that's kept me going.
Good for you, Jonathan.
The drugs and alcohol just came along for the ride. But,
yeah, right.
So I went to school the next morning, having read this book, which totally blew me away. It was the first time I'd heard of the Loch Ness Monster or the Yeti or Bigfoot or any of these things. And I remember the teacher doing what probably teachers still do. So now, class, what are we going to do when we grow up? George, what are you going to be when you grow up? And he said, I'm going to be a soldier, miss, like my daddy. Freddie, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a baker, like my granddad. Jonathan, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a monster hunter, miss.
Oh, and nice.
I thought she was terribly old. And she was probably about 40 with a big shock of grey hair. I can't do the accent because she's from Northern Ireland. And I can't do the Northern Ireland accent at all. She looked at my glasses.
Yeah.
Master Downs, if you're not going to take the class seriously, I'll be sending you out.
Oh, right.
I want to be a monster hunter, miss.
Yeah.
Master Dan, you are never going to amount to anything if you don't know your 9 times table.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm 65. I still count on my fingers, and I've been a monster hunter most of my life. So, to you, Mrs. Alexander, wherever you are.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You honoured it. You absolutely have done it abundantly, and I count on my fingers as well. Who cares? So,
well, I do it for there's 2 reasons. One is what I do, and B, I'm no good at doing anything else.
Yeah. So obviously, Mum goes down to the library. You ask for more books, or do you join the library with Mum and go and sit there and just read? How did it progress?
I was always a member of the library. I went down there every Thursday during holidays times with my mum. But No, I just asked her to hand out more books on mystery animals, which she did.
Oh. So were there a lot of books around then at that time then?
Not as
On
many as there are now, but there were.
No. Yeah, okay. So
There were
what type
books.
of books were there out there? Okay, we're talking the Loch Ness Monster. Were there a lot of Bigfoot books? So there were a lot of deities and old folklore books, obviously.
Yeah, there was a lot of folklore books. There
Mm,
was a series of books by an American author called Ivan T. Sanderson, who
okay.
wrote about his adventures looking for animals in weird places, but also wrote about the folklore and wrote about mystery animals that he encountered. And there were books by a German guy called Willy Ley, who wrote in the 1930s.
Oh, right.
It's just before and just after the Second World War.
Oh,
And there were books by a Dutch guy called Oudemans, who wrote this fantastic book called The Great Sea Serpent,
all
about
right.
sea monsters in 1880, 1890 or so.
Yeah, yeah, because
And remember, this was 60 years ago, so 1890 wasn't quite as far back from there as it is now.
yeah, right. Yeah.
And also, kids weren't supposed to be stupid then, so kids were encouraged to read
Yes.
large books by dead Dutchmen rather than.
Yes. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, that's right. I mean, I've got folklore of the little people. One of it rings a bell that I've got. The story of little people, something like that over there. Anyway, all the different little people. So okay, so reading those growing up, you still obviously it fired your imagination more and it fired you wanted to go through. Who did you sort of admire? Did you get in touch with people? Could you get in touch with people back then?
I couldn't back in the 60s, but by the end of the 70s, I had written to Bernard Heuvelmans with no luck at all. And I'd written to a woman called Di Francis. I can't remember this. No, I think this was the beginning of the 80s.
Okay.
Who wrote a book called Cat Country about British mystery cats.
Yeah.
And I corresponded with her for a while. And then I became friendly with Dr. Carl Schuker. He and I have been friends now, God, coming up 40 years, I think.
Okay, so what did he specialise in?
He wrote a book called Mystery Cats of the World, and then he wrote a whole series of cryptozoology books. And one day, I was just doing this as a hobby. This was something I did at weekends because I was still working.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, many years later, I was on the shores of Loch Ness. I was working in the music industry by then. When I've not been a cryptozoologist, I've been a music journalist most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working
cool.
for a guy called Steve Harley, who you might remember, a band called Cockney Rebel.
No. I was never into music growing up, really. Well, not really.
He had a few big hits in the 70s and early 80s. Lovely guy. I worked for him for about 5 years, and we were on tour in Scotland. He flew off to do gigs in Dublin, but because I'd forgotten my passport, I had to stay behind.
Okay.
And so my first wife, and I, and a couple of other people from the tour, we bunked off and we spent a few days on the shores of Loch Ness. And I was sitting on the shores of Loch Ness smoking a suspiciously long cigarette.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
try this at home, kiddies.
Yeah, right.
And I was completely and utterly off my tits. I hope I can say off my tits.
Yeah.
I was completely off my tits and came up with a bright idea. Well, why didn't I start a club for people who are interested in mystery animals? And
I think I was as well when I did my UFO group, but carry on. Yeah.
I started this group, and it consisted of me, my wife, and a bloke called Dave, who I haven't spoken to in, 30 years or so.
Okay.
And me and my wife and this bloke called Dave, we put together a magazine, which I flogged at the first Fortean Times convention. Much to my surprise, loads of people bought it. I ended up having 70 or 80 subscribers, which was pretty good.
Because I remember you.
I went there when there was only one.
Okay, all right.
And then it's gone from there. It's gone in leaps and bounds. We're now the biggest cryptozoological organization in the English-speaking world.
So you founded that, didn't you? The Centre of Fortean Zoology, didn't you? That's the largest cryptozoology research organisation. Yeah, well
in the
done.
English-speaking world.
Yeah.
There is one in Japan that is bigger, and there's one, I believe, in Brazil, the Spanish language one, and there's a big one in Germany as well.
Really? Oh, right, okay. Japan surprises me, but then again, they do like all of that. Like they like all of the old Godzilla and the
they love their monsters.
Yeah, and also Germany, because you said you brought up an author that was German as well. So that obviously, you wouldn't have thought of cryptozoology for Germany, but I suppose I mean, mythological creatures are like UFOs. They're absolutely everywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, of course they are. And there's one in Belgium as well. And I just got, we just won the biggest English-speaking one.
Okay, because there is one coming up this weekend, isn't there, in Bridgewater for people that are into Bigfoot and cryptozoology. There is one in Bridgewater this weekend, upcoming weekend. I might put a link to that on my Facebook page. Because also then, at your age, when you were younger, as we were speaking earlier, you have a young lad called Daniel Lee Barnett. He's how old is he? 14, is he? 14,
He's 15 now. He was 14 when he started.
I mean, how amazing is that for him to be so like you growing up as a child that he just wanted to source everyone, and he's now in I suppose in his element because he has the internet, that he can research and find and watch all of the TV shows and go off and meet them. I mean, it's so good for him. We need more of the younger generation to be really into this, don't we?
Yeah, I think so, because it's one of the things that I've discovered in my long and peculiar life is that as a society, we're increasingly divorced from the reality of the natural world. When I was a boy,
you'd be outside playing.
Yeah, we'd be playing outside. We'd be roaming across the fields. We'd know the names of the butterflies and the birds.
Yeah, right.
We'd know where you could pick mushrooms. Again, don't try that at home, kiddies.
Why not? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because there's mushrooms and
I know there's mushrooms. Yeah, I know. But yeah, my dad taught me the hedgerows, what I could eat, hawthorn, the hazelnuts to pick up. And, my dad taught me all of that as well. That was important. But that is generations. Some people still know all of that and bring their children up that way, believe me. But others don't.
Very few. Sadly,
yeah, I know.
Very few. And I remember my teacher taking us out on a ramble doing something and saying, "You mustn't pick these mushrooms, kids. They're not edible and they might make you feel ill."
Oh, right. I'm having those in my bag, the fly Garrett.
Don't try this at home.
He's got as you've got your wizard hat on. Lovely. All right. So I mean, I wish Daniel every success at his age to fuel the fire of knowing, and he's in the right time at the right place to be doing all of this now. Yeah, that's cryptoid.com UK. But I'll put the link on that. Okay, because you will be there. Are you speaking there at that one as well?
I think it's more of a meet and greet, and people are wandering around and talking to the different speakers.
Okay.
To the different guests.
Because
as far as I know, I'm not speaking, but if they want me to, I'll just get up.
They'll just put a mic in your hand and do it. So
well, you see, there's two ways of giving a lecture. You can plan it out meticulously, write all the points you want to do on cards, and then stand up with your cue cards and give it in a professional, methodical manner. Or you can just go up there, grab a microphone, fuck about, and make it up as you go along.
We're not allowed to say that word. He might cut that word out. I've been told that I'm not
Okay,
allowed to use that
you're
word. But
allowed
anyway,
to duck,
yeah, you're allowed to duck
around.
it. All right, I'll have to try and remember that one. Thank you.
You can go up and pluck around.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come. Yeah, I'll ask you if ever I need any other sort of other acronym words for
Muck
everything.
around.
Okay. Muck duck. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I know I've got a potty mouth. But anyways, so
Yeah, you swore on my
I
show,
know, but
young Missy.
only because you swore first and then I went for it. I don't need much telling.
I'm shocked that you would say such a thing.
Oh, come on, Jonathan, please. I'm a bad troublemaker, just like you, as always. Right. So then
That's one of the reasons I love you, dear,
I
because you are like me. You are a troublemaker.
I am. I'm a good troublemaker. Good troublemaker. So when we met because we're going to go in a commercial break in 5 minutes. So, but when we met, when you were doing your meetings down in Exeter, you had quite a few people. That's where I met Nick Redfern for the first time. So at what point were you going off around the country in England and researching, and that to be, for further writings for your book later on later on, or were you actually going off, and what was your best sort of subject that you really liked within England?
Okay, well, I have always been fascinated by the apparition of an owl-shaped humanoid, which has been seen in the woods around Morne Smith in southern Cornwall.
Okay.
And it is, just make sure your senses listening, it is plucking scary.
Okay.
And I wrote the book on it. It's called The Owl Man and Others, which is probably the book I'm most famous for.
Okay.
With my first wife, and I spent many years going down, researching in Cornwall, which is where I met and made friends with. You think I looked like a wizard? Well, he was a real wizard. He was from the Western world. Tony Shields. You know the famous pictures of the naked witches on the shores of Loch Ness and the man with the tall hat?
Yeah, I do know that. Yeah.
That's him.
He died. Illustrator.
He died. No, the photographs. The guy with the tall hat is Tony Shields, Doc Shields.
Oh no, I don't.
He died about 3 months ago.
Okay. Oh.
But he was a lovely old bugger, and I was very, very fond of him. And he was basically a second father to me, and I loved him very dearly, and I learned immeasurable amounts of stuff from him.
Okay. So when you went down to Cornwall, then did you actually witness like the owl man, the humanoid?
No, because there's only one witness I've ever met who was a man, or he was a boy at the time. Mm-hmm. All the other witnesses, every single one, were women or pubescent or just post-pubescent girls.
Okay.
And the other women were always having their periods at the time they met. And it's a monster that is attracted by females. The one male was 12 and he was there with his 13-year-old girlfriend.
Okay.
And so, he wouldn't.
So she activated the sighting then. She activated the sighting and he was a witness to it.
Well, the thing is, I need to take you again. You're young and beautiful. I can take you down there, tie you to a tree and see what happens.
Well, you did say that we're going to go to commercial break any second, but you did say that that's what we need to do. Use me as bait. Right. On that note, we're going to go to a commercial break and we will be back with Jonathan Downes and his absolutely wonderful stories of pure life. See you in
The
a minute,
Onyx
guys.
Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Onyx Network website at unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
This is Margie Kay, and I'd like to say thank you to all of our KUNX show hosts, staff, listeners, and viewers for making us #1 on Paranormal Talk Radio.
We are a few weeks away from the 2024 XCon in Springfield, Missouri, and you still have time to get tickets and join us for 2 nights and 3 days of speakers, workshops, paranormal investigations, vendors, and dance the night away at the Mad Hatter's Ball and Banquet. Be sure to bring your favorite Halloween costume for the ball and enter to win the costume contest. Come celebrate our 3rd year birthday and engage with amazing presenters like Tyler Kiwala, Micah Hanks, Dan Terry, Michelle Roos, and so many more, including keynote speaker Scott Nelson on the Ron Moorhead Bigfoot recordings, October the 11th through the 13th at the beautifully haunted Oasis Hotel and Event Center in Springfield, Missouri. Go to unxnetwork.com for tickets and details. That's unxnetwork.com.
Welcome back to The Naked Truth, and we have Jonathan Downes, cryptozoologist. We're talking about the mad mayhem life of Jonathan Downes and all of his expeditions. Jonathan, so go back to the tin mines in Cornwall and to the owl humanoids. That's so different to like the Mothman prophecy, but yet there's a similarity. What are the links, or are there any links between them?
Well, Tony Shields, the Irish wizard I told you about earlier, who is inextricably linked with the Owlman story. Mm-hmm. He once told me that if it hadn't been for the Mothman prophecies, then the Owlman wouldn't have happened. And I took that to mean that he'd made the whole thing up after reading the Mothman prophecies. But then I started meeting witnesses who had no link to Tony whatsoever.
Okay.
The first half dozen had links to Tony, but the witnesses, including the boy I told you about earlier, mm-hmm. who was in his early 20s by this time, mm-hmm. he was nothing to do with Tony, never met Tony. And when Tony died the other day, he actually sent me an email saying, "That's really sad, I always wanted to meet him." So there is no link between them whatsoever, and I totally believe his and the other witnesses' stories. But there is another weird aspect to this.
Please go.
You know, have you heard of an artist called Max Ernst? He was one of the early surrealists. Mm-hmm. And he and his long-term, I don't know if they were married or not, Leonora Carrington, and she only died in the last 10 years or so. She was about 100 when she died. In 1936, they were visiting Mormon Smith in southern Cornwall, together with a local Cornish artist and eccentric called Beakus Penrose. And they did all sorts of weird, surreal invocations. And there are a load of photographs of them capering around in various stages of undress, wearing bird masks and flapping wings and doing mock magical invocations to make
as you do.
bird arrive, make a giant bird arrive. Only trouble is it took 40 more years before it actually turned up.
Oh, hang 1 second. I'm just going to do something. Hang on. One sec. Yay! I put some Halloween lights up. You can't see them. Little pussycat Halloween lights up, special for today.
Well, they're really cute.
I had them. I put them on for your show, but I forgot. I can see them in the background. I thought, oh God, I went to the trouble of doing it. I must put it on. So what? Okay, because you've travelled all around the world on expeditions and for research. Because you've been to some vast places in research, and I believe that you went with. I think it was your first wife. You went on some researches. Where, because you looked into the chupacabra as well, haven't you?
Yeah, but that wasn't. Alice and I were divorced by then.
Okay, all right, sorry.
First time I went, it doesn't matter. It's a long time ago.
Yep.
About 6 months before I met you. Hey, that sounds bad, doesn't it? But, you know,
that's another story. But carry on.
That wasn't meant to be that. Admittedly, I have been. What was the word we decided to use? Ducking around.
All right, yeah, okay.
On your show, but
yeah.
that was totally unintentional.
That's right.
But Alice and I got divorced in the summer of '96. But I went to Puerto Rico looking for chupacabra the first time with Graham, who you know as well.
Yep.
The second time with Nick Redfern, who you know as well.
Yeah, very well, yeah.
And I wrote books about both of them.
Yes.
Which,
I bet that was a blast going there with Nick and Graham.
It was massively entertaining.
Ooh.
Massively entertaining. And I love Puerto Rico. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh, wow. Gosh.
And what I discovered was that there was a lot of very real evidence for there being an unknown animal that walked semi-bipedally and had spines down its back, semi-bipedally, partially upright, that lived in the high grassland plateau around near the town of Canovanas, which is up in the plateau in central Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I think over the years we managed to, excuse me, I'm just switching Facebook so I don't have everybody asking me stupid questions and going,
fine.
Bing.
Yep.
I don't know if it shows up on.
Sorry, carry on. Don't worry. Carry on. Don't worry. We can just hear, but it's fine.
I don't know if it shows up on yours as well. It annoys me.
It's fine.
You're
at the plateau. At the plateau. That's where they're saying.
What I do is some of the things that I study are like the Owlman. I don't like the word paranormal, and I don't like the word supernatural because I think
they've got different places in different things, haven't they? Yeah.
These things are perfectly normal and perfectly natural. They're just defined by laws of science that we don't understand yet.
Correct, yeah.
Well, that's the way I see it. And I think all these things, I think monsters, ghosts, UFOs, all these things are intertwined and they're part of the same big something. And we don't know what that something is. Although with our research and the research of people all over the world, we are coming ever so slightly closer to understanding why and how. But some of the other things we look at may appear to be paranormal. They may appear to be monsters and things that go bump in the night, but they're actually animals.
Hmm.
And I'm a zoologist, and cryptozoologist only, it comes from the Greek kryptos, meaning hidden, and the zoology, the study of animals. It's the study of hidden animals. And the stuff that I'm well known for, like looking for the British Bigfoot, which can't possibly exist as a flesh and blood creature,
No.
it's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, it is totally
And
into my
the
dimension.
Owlman and things like that, which cannot exist within purely zoological frames of reference,
Oh,
is
yeah.
only part of what I do.
Hmm.
And so, but when I went to Puerto Rico and I was told, there's this animal, senor, it come out at night, he has spines on his back and he sucked blood of that chicken, like, how do you say, in the neck, like a vampire.
Hmm.
First thing you think is, this is paranormal, this is supernatural, this is all the words I don't like using.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out it's probably not the case. Now, this is a slightly complicated but very interesting piece of sort of historical detective work.
Okay.
Now, when I was a boy in Hong Kong, once my parents were friends with the man who was the commissioner of police in Hong Kong. We used to go on, I can't remember if it was Boxing Day or New Year's Day each year to a big party they had. And whereas most people in Hong Kong was just tiny, including us, lived in flats or apartments, he actually had a garden, which was massively exciting if you were a 9-year-old boy who'd never seen a garden, never had a garden, or not in Hong Kong. And one year we went there, and like I said, it was either Boxing Day or New Year's Day, and the head policeman, was fumingly angry because this was the year that they had the first communist riots in Hong Kong, where people from mainland China were trying to overthrow the British government.
Mm-hmm.
And the head policeman thought that communist insurgents had broken into his garden and were trying to overthrow the British government by destroying his prize-winning banana tree.
As you do.
And he took us down, and I remember seeing the ruins of this poor mangled banana tree. And I don't know if you've ever seen a banana tree up close.
Yeah.
But they don't have a wooden trunk. They have a pithy trunk, which is covered in different layers of leaves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. You can get them over
Yeah.
here.
And something had bitten into this trunk. You could see the tooth marks, stripped away the layers of leaves, and eaten the soft, squishy, and nutritious core in the middle of the banana tree, and they really destroyed it. Bizarre. They left the bananas, whatever it was, liked and wanted to eat the core of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a few days later, in what, with hindsight, was probably an appalling waste of British government funds, the chief of police borrowed 3 soldiers, marksmen, from the local army camp, and had them and police marksmen to stay out. So I think there were about 5 or 6 people with guns out staking out the rest of his banana trees. And in the middle of the night, something moved. And they could see something coming through the gloom. They couldn't see what it was, so they raised their rifles and bang! They shot the communist insurgent, except it wasn't a communist insurgent, it was a porcupine.
Oh!
Now, there are porcupines in the New World, but Old World porcupines nearly all live on the ground and can walk semi-upright and have spines going down their back.
Yeah, right.
Familiar?
Yeah.
bit like the creature the chupacabra is described as. New World porcupines live in trees and are more sort of rounded, like large head. Well, they look more like large guinea pigs with spikes because
Okay.
they are rodents. They are related to guinea pigs.
Okay. Oh, right. Didn't know that.
And what happens is during the years of the Atlantic slave trade, Puerto Rico was the dropping off point for the slave ships coming across from Africa. And in West Africa, there are several species of porcupine. And porcupines are still eaten to this day in West Africa because, as part of the bushmeat trade, because apparently I've never eaten them, but apparently they are very good eating. And they are pretty well indestructible. So they'd be great portable food to take with you on this ship doing this nasty journey with a cargo of slaves all the way West Africa
Right. Yeah, right.
to Puerto Rico.
Mm.
And it's not too far a paradigm shift to imagine that somehow some of these porcupines escaped, or even that somebody got fond of a couple of porcupines and let them go.
Yep.
Because the chupacabra sounds just like one of the old world porcupines, which walks part of the time on their hind legs and have spikes going out the back.
Okay. Yeah.
And, it makes perfect sense and can be quite large. Some of the porcupines with their spikes are 4 foot tall, 4 foot long, and so can walk upright. It's 3-4 foot.
Yeah.
And
Misidentity. Yeah.
yep. But because nobody's ever seen porcupines anywhere in the Caribbean, apart from one extinct sort of the ones that live in trees, nobody would know what it was. And then on my second trip to Puerto Rico, I went to a farm with Nick Redfern, and almost exactly the same thing happened. The farmer was angry. He said, "Senor, I go there and my tree has been taken."
Okay. Yeah.
And he was, "What do you mean? And your tree's been taken?" He took me by the hand and took me into this banana grove. Now, Puerto Rico, their biggest cash crop is plantains, and there's all sorts of different sorts of plantains.
Yeah.
Because all bananas are plantains.
Well, they are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but not all plantains are bananas. There's all sorts of plantains of different flavors. Some are most are savory. There's a lovely Puerto Rican dish called mofongo, which is mashed a particular Puerto Rican plantain, seasoned with black peppers, and you eat it with barbecued pork, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, he took me to see this tree, and it was porcupines. It must have been a porcupine tree because there's nothing else that leaves that diagnostic.
Okay.
Nothing else that leaves that diagnostic damage to the tree.
Okay.
And he said, "But that is not all, senor. 3 of my peacocks and a goat been killed. Was it the same thing?" And I said, "Well, it's highly unlikely that something which purely eats plants, particularly the pith at the center of a banana tree, is going to want to eat goats and peacocks." And he showed me a Polaroid photograph, and the peacock was obviously dead, and it had a small triangular piece of bone taken out of the top of its skull, and its brains had been eaten. And I knew exactly what it was. It was nothing paranormal. It was nothing supernatural. It was nothing weird at all. It was a mongoose. But there's a problem. There ain't no mongooses in Puerto Rico. In fact, there ain't no mongooses in the New World. Okay. Except I discovered a few days later, when Nick and I were taking our hire car back to the depot, I saw a mongoose. And I thought, what the blinking flip, see, I didn't swear.
I know, yeah.
What the blinking flip is that mongoose doing here? Because there ain't no mongooses in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And so when I went home, I investigated, and I found that mongooses had been introduced to the island to keep down rats in the 1920s. And so you have this weird coincidence, although you and I both know there's no such thing as a coincidence, of two animals that I was familiar with, which shouldn't have been in Puerto Rico, both being in Puerto Rico. Then I discovered, because mongooses were supposed to be extinct in Puerto Rico, but we knew they weren't because I've seen one.
Yep.
And a few years earlier, around about the time you and I met, there was a population explosion in the rat population in Puerto Rico. Now, this happens wherever there are brown rats all over the world. Sometimes you have a population explosion. We had one locally a few years ago. And rats even came in the cold weather, even came in my house, and the dog and the cats had a field day. But the thing is about carnivores, unlike humans, who will breed under any circumstances. Well, there were even children born in the concentration camps.
Yeah. Okay.
Humans will breed under any circumstances, like rats will breed under any circumstances. Carnivores, especially the smaller, anything, especially, all of the carnivores basically, and mongooses are typical small carnivores, only breed to the amount of food that's available. That's why fox hunting is totally pointless as a way of keeping pest control, because you kill 3 foxes in a season, they will have 3 more cubs to fill that hole within a couple of months, because they know how much food is available in that particular area. And with the explosion in the rat population, you suddenly had an explosion in the remains of the mongoose population. So suddenly the mongooses were everywhere. Then what happened was the Puerto Rico Department of Health did an enormous program to kill the rats.
We got 3 minutes.
Okay. They killed all the rats, or nearly all the rats, and the mongooses didn't have anything to eat. So they went into farmers' land and they would kill birds like chickens, ducks, and peacocks the way that they always kill, with a bite to the head and a triangular-shaped mark. But goats, you and I know goats. Goats are the size of my dog.
That. Okay, so is it so?
But I've got to tell you about the goats. Are we back after the break, or is this
no, this is it. But this is going to be part 1 for sure, because I like bringing people back on. I brought Peter Paget back on; he's coming on again, and then I'm doing like a few with Brenda Butler as well. So no, this is part
if
1.
I can have one more sentence. Nick Redfern and I were driving along, and suddenly we saw these most peculiar little things with horns crossing the road. They were like large guinea pigs. And it turned out the goats in that part of Caernarfonas are tiny, the size of British miniature goats. And so that was something that a mongoose could kill. So the chupacabra exists. There's 2 different things, and it has nothing to do with UFOs or ghosts or monsters or anything else. And I'll now shut up until next time.
No, we're not going. We are going in a minute. This is going to definitely be a part 1, because I know that you'll just know so much, and the fact that you've very well read, very well from an early age, and taken in all of the animals from all over the world, and that's why you do what you do. So, and that's why you knew what it would be. I will also, because it is quite interesting, because obviously you've got the Brazil case, obviously, with the 2 girls that had witnessed like the chupacabra. But okay, we are going to have to go. So this is going to be a part 1. And I think you're going to have to come back for quite a few parts. We will come back because obviously Jonathan has been all over the world, worked with so many people. Obviously, you've got your Richard Freeman that everybody knows in zoology and cryptozoology, and Nick Redfern. Jonathan, thank you, my sweetie pie. Good luck this weekend at the conference in Somerset. For the Bigfoot conference in Somerset and cryptozoology. I wish you all the support. Sorry that I can't be there, but thank you so much. And we will be back for a part 2 because I know that all of the American gang would absolutely love listening to you, and all of the English gang do as well. All right, so say anything else and say your goodbyes.
Yeah, just check out the CFZ website, www.cfz.org.uk, and you can contact me through there. Or find me on Facebook.
I'll put all the links on that for tomorrow for everybody to be able to find you. All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and when you find Peanut, your cat, give him a big hi from me as well. All right.
I certainly will.
All right, my treasure. All right, take it easy. That is England's treasure right there. All right, take it easy.
Thank you, my love.
Bye. And thank you.
Bye, my dear.
Bye.